All right. Well, thank you everybody for showing up for this first NEAR Developer Tools community call. I'm Maxwell. I work with the DevRel team at DevHub, and today we're going to be presenting some stuff by SourceScan and then talking about BOS Developer Tools. So just a few words on format. This is a community call. It's for the community. Anybody can kind of, shout out button, have a discussion. Just don't be too disorderly, please. Not really that worried about that. And I'll be taking notes on this call, and we will have the recording posted to YouTube. So yeah, and with that, I guess we'll just get right into it. Vlad wanted to share some Rust Toolchain stuff to get us started.
Yeah, it would be just a quick update, but it was massive push from the community of fellowship contributors from DevHub. And now we have BOS 1.0 stable release published on chain almost. We also have the pull requests ready for NEAR Core, NEAR SDK, and many of the other tools ready. So it was also pretty good, end-to-end execution of the release. We tested it well. We prepared everything for downstream dependencies, and so they don't need to bother with knowing what the breaking changes were there. And yeah, NEAR Core was a very good testing suite for us. So it was great. Let me see if we have the contributors here. Yeah, several of them. But yeah, they will share their updates maybe. We'll see. And yeah, well, along with that, we also have new release of NEAR Sandbox, NEAR Workspaces, and Cargo NEAR. So that is basically the suite for development of smart contracts. And NEAR SDK RS is coming. It's not there yet, but 5.0 is definitely something that we're looking for. And yeah, well, the usual one, NEAR SDK RS, which was pretty stable, getting new releases almost daily with new features, because it's well, and this is something that I want to actually mention explicitly. We have now all releases scripted and automated. So thanks to Release Please, the project that helped us to basically get all the things much smoother, because it prepares the updates for every commit to main. It prepares as if it was a release, a pull request, and it's up to us to just click, okay, we want to shoot it as a release. So all the projects that I just mentioned already have this feature enabled. So basically we will have very regular releases going forward, which is massive, I believe, because for some of the packages, it was almost a year since last release. So yeah, with that out of the door, I want to invite others to speak and share their cool stuff.
That's super awesome. Great to hear about all those updates, and seems like everybody's pretty stoked about all that. So yeah, awesome. I guess we'll get into it then. So Andrey, I think, is going to start us off by presenting some work on SourceScan.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Andrey, and today I would like to show you our solution for source code verification for smart contracts on NEAR. So here you can see our app in BOS. To verify your smart contract, first of all, you need to press the SourceScan and go to the upload page. Here you need to input any GitHub repo that has Rust smart contract code in it. So for example, let's get this hello NEAR Rust. After that, we would need to choose the specific commit to import from. Then we would need to choose the entry point, because one repo can have many entry points. So for Rust contract, it is cargo.toml, and for TypeScript contracts, it's package JSON. So I'm choosing Rust for the compilation. Then I will press generate key, and then I would have the link for the gateway for the SourceScan outside of BOS, because we are working right now with the access keys, and BOS does not support that. And here we can see that we are compiling this exact commit of this repo and deploying it to my account agrusdev.near. So let's compile it. Depends on the size of the source code. It compiles differently, but it is averaging around 30 seconds to compile. So we need to wait a bit.
Will it compile and also then deploy it immediately there?
Yes, it will compile, and then it will deploy immediately, and we would see it here in NEAR blocks.
What if there is compilation error?
Excuse me?
What will happen if there is compilation error?
If there is a compilation error, it will show us the compilation error.
Nice.
And actually, I think the compilation, it was a compilation error. Something. No, sorry, I pressed the wrong. We need to do this once again because it was a deploy button and I accidentally closed it. Okay, so let's choose it once again. Let's generate the key, go to gateway. Now we need to recompile it.
So in the background, what is happening is that it is cloning this exact commit into a server, compiling it, and then returning you the WASM? Or
Yes.
So how is happening the part of like?
Yeah. So it's creating the temp folder, it's cloning the git commit, then it's compiling it in the contract builder container, and then it returns the WASM to the front end. And as you can see, I have the deploy button. I will press it. First, it will deploy it with the full access key that is stored in the browser, and then I would be prompted to sign the transaction that contains all the arguments that will help mapping the verified contract with the actual source code. So we need to sign the transaction, then we can go to NEAR blobs and we will update it. As you can see, here's the transaction deploy contract, and here's the set contract. Also, we will need to check our hash of WASM right now. And as you can see, if we go here to contracts, it was updated with new data. So first of all, we can see that it has the here's the link to GitHub commit. We can open it and go to contract source lib.rs and check the actual source code, and also some security checks. For example, it checks if the WASM code matches, and I will show you how it works right now. So here I have the recompiled on local machine, the same contract. So let's deploy it where the CLI and see what will happen.
Nice live demo of NEAR CLI.
It's actually really good. It's better than JS1. Okay, and as you can see, if we go to NEAR blocks, the code hash updated. And if we go back to SourceScan and update this page, the WASM code mismatches. And we can see that contract is not approved now because the hash of WASM during the deploying transaction that is also stored here is mismatches with what we have right now in NEAR VM. But this solution is user-friendly, but it has a lot of drawbacks. because it is too centralized. It relies too much on our server for compilation, and also the huge drawback is the full access keys, as some of NEAR contracts are locked since the start, like critical contracts. Actually, when they are getting deployed, at the same time they're getting locked and deleting all their access keys. So it would be impossible to compile them afterwards on the different source, like SourceScan, for example. That's why we redesigned the solution and came up with the new idea of how this could work. So first of all, the client builds on his local machine inside the container the WASM code. Then he deploys it with CLI to NEAR VM. Then he goes to SourceScan BOS application, inputs the same stuff like repo and commit. Then the same, everything the same happens, but one key different is on the verification process. The backend checks itself the WASM hash from the NEAR VM and compares it to what was compiled. And then if it matches, it uses the SourceScan key to add the mapping entry itself to the contract. And the contract is getting added to the pool, but we're not using any keys of the user, and we're not relying that much on the compilation process on our server. And in the end, we would like, this would happen, we would develop this in the closest 3 months, but we think the whole development would take around 6 months. And in the end, it should look something like this. So client builds it inside the container, and during the compilation, also the special meta for the contract is inserted into WASM, and then he deploys this WASM to NEAR VM, and automatically our backend listens to the deploy transactions that has this meta through the indexers of NEAR, and when he finds one, he do the same compilation process and compares the WASM hash from the NEAR VM with what he compiled, and then he adds the entry. And also today we did a new proposal on DevHub, and if you like what we are doing and you would like to help us, you can like it or comment what is not clear in it, and maybe bring new ideas. So that was it.
Yeah, thanks for calling out the drawbacks of the current approach and the updating the proposal, because we had a lot of back and forth that is revealed from behind the curtains, specifically because of this concern of needing to share the full access key with third-party service, which is not that doesn't work for like most of the apps that you actually want to verify. So there is a contradiction there. But yeah, I also encourage everybody to review and post your attestations and comments to that proposal, because it's all about like community. It's not like two folks deciding on like how to proceed. So yeah, grill it there and maybe ask questions here. Yeah, Guillermo, I see your question.
Yeah, I really like the tool. Do you think there's any way in which this is actually sustainable in the long run? Because, for example, this could be very, very useful for we have an initiative in which we want people to learn how to develop smart contracts, and if we could just say like, hey, code here and now press this button and we're gonna deploy it automatically for you, that's amazing. But then an honest question is like, do you think that this is sustainable in the long run? Like, how much does it cost to maintain it per month and etc.? Because this is an honest question in the sense that we had tools that were very interesting, but when you have to maintain servers, at some point someone has to pay it, and at some point if someone does not pay it anymore, the tool goes down. And if your, like tool was depending on a paid service that now no one is paying and no one wants to pay, because everyone loves everyone loves free tools until you realize that the free tool is being paid by someone, and then no one is maintaining it anymore. So how much do you think it costs, and do you think it is possible to actually transform it into a long time maintained tool?
Yes. Right now there are not a lot of developers on NEAR, so the costs right now, it's hard to to calculate. But in the long run, when there would be more devs, I think that we would come up with some more with the better idea how we can compile this stuff, not using the centralized server, because the centralization is always a bottleneck for blockchain. So in the end, I think it should be completely decentralized to keep it in the long run. But right now, while it is still maintaining, NEAR is still maintaining it in devs, I think it would be okay for such system to work. And it doesn't cost a lot of money to host such server, because it actually doesn't require a lot of calculating. It doesn't require a lot of
computational power.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much.
I saw somebody was about to ask something, and then I lost who was right in the head. Oh, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, it was me, but I'm in a bar at the moment, so I'm not sure if it was the right thing. So...
I'm sorry, it's very hard to hear you. There is some background noise.
It's very noisy.
Maybe type it in the chat, and we will read it. Sorry. Oh yeah, so one comment that I wanted also to add is that we discussed that how to make this user experience better, and it could be part of Cargo NEAR tool that currently can do Cargo NEAR build, Cargo NEAR ABI commands, but there will be Cargo NEAR new, Cargo NEAR deploy as well. So with that in mind, I think it will be like closing the loop for Rust stack development. And then I will jump on GS sometime after that.
Also, I would like to add that the new solution would not cover the TypeScript contracts because it would only work with the contract builder for Rust right now.
But it's not a technical limitation, it's just like lack of implementation, right?
Yeah, it's lack of implementation, and in the future, of course, we will add the container also for TypeScript compilation as well.
It's because of the lack of ABI in JavaScript?
No, I think that's because there is no solution right now that is already implemented. So yeah, we would need to spend our time on it ourselves.
Question to Andrey. Andrey, do you have any kind of written tutorial page for the manipulations that you were doing on screen with the UI, so that someone simple and not knowing what is happening can go through the steps and like replicate the simplest scenario and understand what he's doing?
Yeah, understand. Right now there is no tutorial, but we are in the process of adding the Git book for the whole solution with the tutorials, with the technical details, and this stuff. So it would be in the future also. Right now there is no Git book.
Also want to read out loud the question in chat. So the question to Andrey, if you accept contributions, because the Ludmil said that he was experimenting with the plausible solutions and wants to contribute and get in touch.
Okay, great. You can write to my Telegram. Here's my Telegram. We can connect, and you can propose your ideas, and we will think how you can help us with our solution.
All right, awesome. Anybody else have any last questions for Andrey?
Sure. The whole code will be open source for the backend. The contract is open sourced with the verified code. Yeah, and the front end is BOS, so it's by default open source. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
The fireworks. All right. Well, I suppose we'll move on to the BOS developer tools now. So I think, Michael, are you there?
Yep. Yeah, I can go ahead and hop in.
Okay, cool. I'll let you take it away. You have anything to put on your screen, or?
Yeah, I'm going to be screen sharing.
All right, cool. Whenever you're ready.
All right. Cool. So I'm just going to be giving a demo of BOS Loader today for anyone who's unfamiliar with it. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Michael. I'm the engineering manager of the BOS Web Engine team at Pagoda. And before joining this team, I was an individual contributor on one of the teams working on the NEAR Org gateway and the BOS components that are used there. So BOS Loader is a tool that stemmed out of our internal needs. We had a team of 5 to 6 React developers who were used to working in GitHub with standard dev processes, PRs, local development, things like that. And as we started to develop BOS components, we were writing onto chain for all of our changes and using the web IDE. This kind of just started as a little experimental side project, which we then ended up really enjoying the workflow for. And so we shared it out to the community. So this is the repository, and I will drop a link in it in the chat for this as well. And this tool is responsible for spinning up a local server, which serves a set of component source files to be consumed by a gateway. So you can see your changes live as you're developing locally. And it is meant to be used in tandem with BOS CLI RS for managing your component source. So we can just go ahead and hop into a demo. So I picked one of these components in the featured section on NEAR Org. So we're going to be looking at the NDC elections app. Cool. So let's say we are the team responsible for building this app. And this is deployed to the election.ndctools.near account. We can install BOS CLI RS, and then I'm going to make a new folder and use that CLI, which offers a components functionality for downloading the components from a given account. And I'm going to drop in that account that I just pulled. I'm going to pull code from mainnet. So that'll download, and let's go ahead and open it up. So here in our downloaded source set or downloaded component set, we have a source folder that has all the components under that account. And let's look back at the application and see what we might want to change with it. So I'm assuming this box over here is a subcomponent, but I do not know the architecture of this application very well. So I'm just going to do a search on the source code for this humans voted string to find that component. And it is a subcomponent called statistics that is
Sorry, can you
embedded.
zoom in a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Is that a good level?
Maybe once more. Oh, perfect. At least on my screen it works.
All right. So we have this component and we want to make some local changes and see them reflected. So if we had installed BOS Loader by going to the releases page of the BOS Loader repo and running this install script, then we end up with a CLI command called BOS Loader. And since I'm running this from the root, I'm going to say, I want to serve all of the components in the source path as the account election.ndctools.near. And what that says is when we're loading it up in the gateway, all of these source files will be seen as being hosted under that account and be able to override the rendering of those components. So let's go ahead and run that. And we see serving all the JSX files on at this URL. Back in the near.org gateway, you have to just know to do this if you're using BOS Loader, but there is a page on the gateway called flags. And currently, the only application flag for this gateway is the BOS Loader URL that you might want to load components from locally. Paste in that URL, and we will now get a banner letting us know that we are currently loading local components from that address. Cool. I'm going to go back to this page. So now what we're actually seeing, since I'm rendering, I'm serving that entire account that I downloaded, is all of the components here are being rendered from my local source code. And we can prove that by making a change to this percentage that's being rendered. Currently, it's showing one number after the decimal place, and that's controlled by a JavaScript toFixed call. So let's swap that to 2 and save it. And there's not hot reload. You do have to refresh your page. But when you do, you will see that we are now getting toFixed of 2 decimal places. And this is how the internal teams at Pagoda do basically all of our BOS component development. At least on the, we have a NEAR Discovery Components repo, which is that team that I was previously on, where we host our BOS components. You might be familiar with like the decentralized interface guideline components. They live in here as well. And this is the process we generally use for developing those locally. One other thing I want to call out is currently all of these components are being overridden, but you do not necessarily have to do that. Say that we want everything else to be pulled up from on-chain except for this one component. It would be enough to only have that one component in your repo. So let's kill this and delete everything else. This is also a way that you can experiment with overriding components from other developers if you just want to play with some components and test out some changes. Now, if we serve again, we reload this page. Everything else will be the standard version from on-chain, except for this one single component, and that is the only one being served up by BOS Loader and the only one that is being loaded in custom. It's a very nice way to experiment in isolation.
Yeah.
And if you are using this workflow where you are backing your components with GitHub and doing local development and PRs and things like that, you most likely want to set up CI/CD for your deploy of components on chain, and that can be done very easily by going to the BOS CLI RS repo, and there is a reusable workflow that you can take advantage of where merges to main, deploy to mainnet, and it's a really nice and easy way to get started with a good process for collaborating with other developers that are familiar with GitHub.
Nice.
Cool. This is only currently usable on near.org as a gateway because it is the only one which has the applications flag built in to fetch source code from the BOS Loader locally. That being said, the capability is built into the VM to override component source code. So, looks like it's available on everything.dev too. Nice. It can be built into any gateway. You just got to take the time to add in support for passing, for reaching out to the BOS Loader instance and passing that code into the VM. And that's all I had for today. Let me know if you have any questions, or feel free to hit me up on Telegram separately.
So just out of curiosity, what is the bit of code that you have to add to the VM? Is that something that there's a repo for I could take a look at?
So if you go to the BOS Loader GitHub, it calls out in the first paragraph the feature of the VM that it's using, which is called redirect map. And it's basically just a JavaScript object that the VM accepts. And it's an object of like the key is the component source path, and then the value is an object with the code in it. So really what the gateway is doing is just the fetch out to BOS Loader and then dropping it into that prop of the VM React widget.
Cool, gotcha. Thanks.
Other improvements planned for BOS Loader?
There's not too much on our roadmap at the moment, to be honest. We do have a couple pieces of more advanced functionality, which I didn't touch on, such as essentially our solution for environment variables and the ability to serve from multiple accounts at one time. But for standard development workflows, it's pretty feature complete, and anything else will just be determined by as it gets usage if more requests are submitted.
Do you plan to adopt TypeScript support, or do you use it internally? Just wondering.
We don't at the moment. We actually have. You're talking about TypeScript support for component code.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a couple discussions open about kind of the best approach for that in the long run. So I think we're waiting to see where that lands before we decide how to build out support.
Okay. But you remember the starter that I shared previously?
I do. Yeah. And I can link you as well to the discussions that we call out to that. Yeah, we can follow up on that separately.
Yeah, just a reminder that there was I created some prototype of TypeScript support by basically piping things together and transpiling TypeScript components to JSX component to BOS components, and which does not support the types, and then deploying that code. But it creates this extra step of pre-processing. And obviously, it doesn't work nicely with BOS Loader, because you need to recompile and serve it not from the regular SRC folder, but from the folder that is in build artifact folder. But yeah, well, it works pretty well, but I'm yet to see if anybody is actually doing it live. But yeah, just wondered. And do we have the third topic, Max?
Indeed, we
Yep.
do. So continuing with tools that allow you to build on BOS, let me share my screen because I want to show you. I'm going to share my entire screen. I have no secrets for you people. I want to show you another tool that is the extension for the VS Code. So basically, this tool also allows you to create BOS components locally. And the whole idea is that now here in my VS Code, this is just my VS Code IDE. I have installed already the extension that is called the BOS, if we find it, the NEAR BOS IDE. And what that adds is a couple of buttons in here, like so a whole menu. It has a couple of buttons that allows you to log in and fetch your widgets, fetch widgets from any account, and also add an access key so you can try the widgets. And the whole idea is that, for example, like here, I'm just showing like the folder simpler.near, but for example, I can fetch the accounts from NEAR. Let's hit enter and see if this live demo works. Yes. So for example, here I have all of the components of the NEAR account, and I can watch any of them. Like I can open them and see their code. But now for this demo, I'm just gonna, since I already prepared the other pages, I'm gonna focus on simpler.near and a component that is basically a ripoff of PikeSpeak. I don't know if you know that service, but it's very good. And this is just like a fake version of that one. And you can see that I can see the code and then just click a button and preview the widget within the VS Code extension. I can also, for example, just come here and where it says, let's work together, say, let's work unite, because why not? And also, it does not hot reload. That's not a bug. That's a feature, because otherwise it will be constantly reloading the page for you. But if I click again, you can see that now it's showing me, let's work unite to bring more users, right? So this is very nice because you can change different files. If you change files, then the dependencies will be updated. So if I change this file and I import it within another widget, that new widget will bring the updated version because everything works locally. And something that is also very nice is that if you press this button here that says go live, then it will start a server. And this server, I can just copy the flags.json and put it into what was being shown before, the near.org/flags. So for example, here if we look at simpler.near widget billion users, we can see that it says, let's work together because it's bringing it from the chain. But if I now ask the website to use my local flags, and I say the flags, it tells me, okay, now we're loading the components from here. And if I reload, you will see that it's now loading it from my computer, and it says, let's work united. And therefore, I can just go back and maybe change all of these to return hi. I can see here locally that now the widget is just a simple hi. And I can come here and see that that's it. It has been changed. So that's basically it. Like just within VS Code, you can do absolutely everything. It handles natively multiple users. So you can change code from absolutely anything, and it will just be so I can, for example, if I'm building something from simpler.near, but I want to see what will happen if the code of near changes or gacds.near changes, I could change any of those, and then everything will be updated. And something else that I can do is if I can not only like work locally, but then I can also press this button, and it will send the transaction to like basically send this to publish this component. In this case, it's telling me like you're trying to publish as simpler.near, but you don't have that account. But yeah, so this is what it allows to work directly inside of VS Code and all locally. And now I completely lost the call. I don't know where you're at here.
Super cool. Quick question. So what is the environment that the browser inside of VS Code is using? Like what VM does that put your components into?
Yeah, so so the extension is its own gateway on itself. So that's something that, whenever the gateway gets updated, I have to go and manually update the gateway inside of the extension and then publish a new extension. And most probably the version that is right now running is quite behind, to be honest, just because of the bandwidth. I don't have enough bandwidth to support everything that I built. And right now the poor VS Code ID extension has not been touched in, I think, 3 or 4 months, which in, BOS components time is like a century ago.
Does it use its own BOS Loader, or does it use the same BOS Loader as Michael?
No, it's different because so when you build a VS Code extension, VS Code actually gives you it has its own file system that you can interact with, and therefore it's just handling everything locally. So it's not dependent on BOS Loader. It's just like a different flavor of BOS Loader, we could say.
Okay. What are the known limitations besides the old version of Gateway?
The main limitations, I would say, are not about review or... So the main limitation is that if you want to publish, right now it only knows how to talk with wallet.near.org. So the user interaction will be poor when you try to automatize that, ideally, you will log in into your components, but when you hit login, it takes you to the wallet.near.org. So if you have your account somewhere else, it just doesn't know what to do. And the same with publishing, only can go through wallet.near.org. And those are the main limitations. But besides that, everything else is locally and changing flags.json, so nothing changes.
So does that mean that this is going to break when the wallet.near.org is sunset, or?
Not if someone changed the code to talk with my NEAR wallet. And that most probably that someone's going to be me.
Could you extend it to include the wallet selector so you can use any wallet?
So that's something that we look into, and the answer is, I don't know. Just being honest, I don't know. Maybe yes, but with a lot of work, because VS Code does something very well, which is it encapsulates everything. It doesn't allow you to do whatever you want, just because that would be very dangerous for, someone will install the extension and then suddenly you can take over the computer. So it has a sandbox and it allows you to work very, very, very much in isolation. And I don't even know how to start to, see how to connect it with other services and other wallets. I just don't know.
I also want to answer the question that was raised in chat by Ludmil before, is what the current status of tooling and how to understand who is responsible for each tool or decision making in general. And as you may have already noticed, there are many different individuals working on different directions with different capacity. And most of us, it seems like BOS Loader is pretty stable, so it's called. VS Code extension also is stable for 4 months unwillingly, but that's the state of things, I believe. So all the contributions are welcome, and it's all done in open source. And I think all of us are happy to review the contributions. But other than that, I don't think there is a grand plan for that. The most how it's called, organized push forward currently for tooling goes from DevHub side. So if you want to bring something to bigger audience, post a proposal, idea, what's missing. If it's smaller, like one feature, go to individual GitHub repository and post a proposal issue there. or submit a pull request directly. Yeah, that's how it works in open source.
I would like to also continue on that topic and say that, as also you can see, we are like real human beings creating code. Like, it's not that you open an issue and suddenly it gets magically solved. And we value contributions a lot. And contributing to open software, you can also do it. You can do it because you love open sourcing, but you could also do it just because then it's going to look good in your CV and it's going to look good in your resume, right? Like, you can say to people, hey, if I have to review the CV of someone and they have contribute code, then that's so much more valuable than someone that says like, yeah, trust me, I'm very good. I work on a company that no one, you cannot see the code. So it's very useful. And we are humans and we are approachable and we are very happy if someone wants to collaborate. You don't need to be like a super genius. I am not like a super senior developer. I know how to do things and I just find my way through. And if someone needs mentorship, we're more than happy to provide it because it also helps us. So if you want to contribute, it doesn't mean that you have to create a PR and it has to be perfect. Otherwise, we're just going to tell you how bad you are. Most probably, we're just going to guide you towards something that, because it's also good for us. And in the process, you can learn. So that's good. If you're not a, P5 senior developer, don't worry. Just contribute a little bit, and the rest we can guide you.
And sometimes contributions could be really small, but they improve a lot in just user journey. It could be even like a fix and adding a link in README file would already like bring like.
And tutorials and
smoothness.
documentation, indeed. Like, that is something that many of the sad reality of open source is that you want to do everything, but then you just don't have the bandwidth. And therefore, you always leave documentation for the end. So sometimes even contributing a little bit of a README or a documentation, like that helps a lot.
All right. Well, with that particular call to action, please, if people get in there and contribute to some of these repos, because clearly we all need help, There's a lot to be done in this ecosystem. Anybody else want to bring anything up in regards to SourceScan, BOS tooling? It's a community call, so we've got another 10 minutes if anybody has anything. Elliot?
Yeah, I could share the BOS workspace that I use pretty consistently. Let me share my screen.
Cool.
Yeah, go ahead.
You guys tell me when you see it.
Yep.
Cool. So I think it was, who was it? What's your name? Michael. Michael, you were talking about something about being able to deploy from multiple different accounts. So I work a lot in this BOS workspace that it's pretty much, it uses BOS Loader, but it puts a JavaScript build script on top of it. So able to manage multiple different apps within one repo. So in it, for example, you have this apps directory, and then each app has its own BOS config JSON inside of it, which is the app account. And then it has a widget folder that has all your widgets that follow just how it is before. So I consistently have my own gateway that's open, and then I'll use an app. So this one would be app account every.near, and I can use the draw app. And now you have you can spread across these different apps. It's set up in your gateway if you want. So if you have custom components like this one, you can use it. And then since it's within this workspace, we can look at another one like this create app, which has an app account of create.it.near. Oops, create it.near. So I'm BOS loading multiple different accounts, app accounts from the same workspace, and you're able to work on them. And then we are running a lot of different projects. So we have people that will fork the repository, and then they'll create all these different pull requests. for the different apps, and we're able to hold them all in one place, and we're able to like reference each other's code when we need to. So that's been especially helpful. And I'd be really interested. I've been taking notes this time about the limitations that we've seen in like BOS Workspace and how we have all these different tools and how they go together. Especially this serves as a pretty good start for the TypeScript repository, the TypeScript transpiler, I think that's inside of it. And then I also have a few questions, but first, do you guys have any questions on this like BOS Workspace?
I guess not so far.
I don't have any questions, but it's super cool to see another pretty complex setup and see things, you know, that you found a setup that meets your needs. So yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, well, I wanted to ask a question really quick. I've seen implicit accounts generated for like, so this is about like GitHub workflows. So I've been messing around a lot with workflows this week. I have seen in the past NEAR accounts, like workflows where it generates an implicit account and then it deploys a contract to that. Do we envision using BOS Loader to do the same thing? Like, could we create an implicit account and then deploy widgets to it so that people that are creating pull requests to repositories, it doesn't need to be merged into a dev branch or a main branch? I don't know a whole lot about it, so I'm just asking if it's possible.
Well, it's totally possible. You can do, and like NEAR CLI Rust has a command to create a faucet-sponsored testnet account, named or random names. It's fine, but I don't see necessarily the value there immediately. For like, why would you like if you are doing local development? You can do it cheaper with just loading from local file system. If you want to share with somebody, I would argue you would rather publish it on mainnet. It's not that expensive, and don't bother with testnet. But
I don't know. I think I disagree. So I'm running a lot of different projects right now. We got people building and doing all these pull requests. And so I've been having to manually go into a pull request and check it out locally. I don't see why a testnet implicit account would be a bad idea. I think it makes sense, but it's okay.
So you're
well, for pull request, I would create a flow that would publish it on like, that would be part of like preview, pull request, blah, blah, blah. So it's not part of loader. So it would be part of like CI environment. So it's
right.
Then it fits more into BOS CLI, I guess.
Yeah, it's sounding like what you're getting at is something like Vercel preview deployments where you have, yeah. So we on the team at Pagoda that works on the NEAR Discovery Components repo, we kind of talked through this for a while because we very heavily use Vercel preview deployments. And we're really happy with them. We get into kind of a weird state where we didn't feel like testnet was a good place to run preview deployments because by nature of BOS being highly composable, you don't really have any guarantee that any components that you're relying on from authors outside of that specific repo are going to exist. So it just didn't feel like the right workflow to build out something that you can reliably test on. So we did consider doing it on mainnet, but you kind of get to this point where you're polluting mainnet with a whole bunch of, components that are actually not meant to be consumed. And that can actually lead to confusion too if you end up with users on these components that were really just generated as previews. And it's especially an issue with gateways auto-surfacing pretty much all components that are published. If you can just go look at like the list of all components on near.org and things like that, you end up with a bunch of cruft. So we have not yet come up with a solution that we're happy with there, but it is, a very valid idea for an improvement to keep pondering.
Actually, while you were talking, I realized that you can actually deploy BOS Loader to the preview environment of Versal and create a link with a flag enabled to point to that specific deployment BOS Loader. And then you don't need
Be
to publish.
interesting,
Because
yeah.
I don't see value publishing it on testnet. Like it's the same value. Like from the cost perspective, I think nowadays testnet is more expensive for validators for the environment than for because it's so huge and nobody kind of pays for it except Pagoda and several more contributors. And then with mainnet, it's
the best part about it is I don't have to pay for it. But
yeah, I know. But
like,
I think this BOS Loader kind of makes sense. I know. What do you think?
well, I see that in the chat, you guys. Pagoda is working on that. I think I heard earlier that you guys are looking for open source contributors. I would love to see this like progress in public or whatever. I'd like to contribute.
We are, yeah, like this is something, as far as getting a GitHub roadmap is something I've been working on with Pagoda. We are right there. We have it. We have like tickets. This is something that we're actively working on, and I want to hopefully release it in the next like week or two. I believe our CTO Eric actually mentioned this in NEAR all hands this week as well. So yeah, keep on a lookout for an update from us on that.
Why not now? Never mind. Actually, I guess.
Oh no,
like,
we just. I mean, I'm like,
I
okay, I'm ready to go, but yeah, no, it's just making sure that priorities are right and we have all the tickets. Like, basically, it's just migrating everything from Jira to GitHub. It's just a process, you know.
I got you. Well, I'd like to be involved in any way I can. So
awesome. Looking forward to it, Elliot.
All right. Well, awesome. Thanks everybody for the great discussions and the stuff everybody showed off today. We're at the top of the hour. I don't think we're really in the middle of any active discussions, so we'll probably wrap it here. Just as a reminder, I'll get this recording at some point later today, post it to YouTube and in all the channels so that people who couldn't make it can watch, and anybody who wants to rewatch parts of this one can. And yeah, once again, thanks everybody who showed up today. And hope to do this again soon.
Awesome. Thanks everybody.
Thanks, Max.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.